Well, hello there, David Taylor on Mr Pelargonium, back with another video for the Pelargonium and Geranium Society. I'm trying to pack them all in today. I filmed about half a dozen videos today, but this one I'm going to cut back a zonal. Now, zonals, this is actually a standard. It's a stellar type, so it's a zonal hybrid. Same difference really to the standard round leaf zonals, same difference, but the stellars of course are a zonal hybrid type. I do want to give this a really good haircut and a good strip back, and I think it really does show you what to do with your zonal pelargoniums, because they do really need a strip down if you want to get them through the winter, to reduce the chance of them getting botrytis, which is the main killer for many pelargoniums, in particular the zonals. Botrytis likes to cling to the sort of smoother stems that zonals have. So, you know, you really do need to crop them back to be able to give those stems plenty of air to breathe. That's really what we're going to be doing. So you need to do quite a bit of leaf stripping, and I haven't shown you that this year, so I thought I'd do it now, just in case, you know, in this sort of, I'm filming this on the 10th of October, you've still not done it, so it's worth a do. So let's have a look. Hi there, well, it's good to see you again. As I say, I'm filming quite a few videos today to try and catch up. Now, before we cut this back, you need to make sure, particularly with zonals, that they are very much on the dry side. I've always said this over a good number of years. Make sure they are dry at the root before you go hacking back the stems, because zonals in particular can bleed chronically from cuts if the root ball is very wet. So make sure it's very much on the dry side. Now you can tell this is drooping a bit because I have let this dry out. It is dried out when I was away on holiday, but my daughter did keep it a bit watered. But this one in particular has dried out quite a bit. Bit of flower. Flower again is one of the awful things that can droop down, begin to die back, droops down on the leaves. The leaves will then rot. That can then rot back into the stem and then cause the issues of rot back, die back, botrytis getting everywhere, and your plants can basically become a mess. So in order to cut them, in order to avoid that, you can cut them back very hard, strip many of the leaves off. That will then avoid the need to give it much in the way of watering during the winter, and it will allow plenty of air to circulate around those stems, as I've already said, and keep away the dreaded botrytis. Now, they will put on a little bit of growth during the winter. Again, keep them dry. You won't need to water them much at all. There will be enough moisture in the air for the plant to absorb that and grow a little bit. And then once we get to about February next year, you can just gradually just up the watering a little bit. I always say, certainly if you've got your plants in a plastic pot, it's easier to water a little bit in a saucer. But after this initial cut back, it will be kept dry to enable those stems to seal off, heal off, and then just leave it dormant keep it in the shade for a few days, and then it'll just begin to slowly grow back, and you can give it just a little hint of water with feed. I always say a bit of feed as well. Try and give it a bit of liquid feed, ideally a liquid balanced feed. Won't need much, once every couple of weeks really during the winter. So let's get on with this today. I'll just home into this head. What I will also do initially, actually, if we do that first, we will initially just pull out these base growths. Again, we got some lovely stem breaks, stem cuttings here, which probably got some root. And if I take these, I mean, that would almost certainly heal. There's not any root on that, but if you put that in some compost, that would root quite quickly. But I have got some anyway. Let's just break that one. These you can just sort of snap off or pull round. That one's got a little teeny bit of root just beginning to break out. If you stuck this in a pot, it would root. And I may actually do one if I home in on this. Right, now on here, hopefully you'll be able to see just where I've broken that off of the root stem. You can just see some little bumps beginning to stick out. It may be easier if I stick it on its side. I'll hopefully be able to home in on this when I do my editing. Just on there, you can see those little bumps. They are the start of growing roots. And if I stick that in a pot, that will grow very, very easily. So that's the base sorted out. We will just quickly shove this in a small pot. And I've got a clean pot there. And as I haven't got any of these, I will just tuck that down in. There we are, Deanna Westwood. I'll firm that. You can firm the cutting base fairly firmly, just to hold it in. Just label it. Right, so that's Deanna Westwood, that's potted up. That's a little base stem cutting that's got a bit of root already growing. It's effectively then already rooted. And there we are, that will begin to grow straight away. It's not like taking an ordinary slice cutting that's got no root. This is effectively already rooted, effectively. So let's get back up to the plant that we're going to take now, and I'll just close in. Okay, so what is always the case, I'm going to cut this back quite hard. Now, I am hopeful that I can maybe get this to a show next year. I mean, it's really looking to take a good amount of the growth off, by at least a half, probably 2/3 even. Now, you know, for want of sort of looking, I want to go down to individual sort of breaks. And we've got a lovely break here that I've gone down to. So that was very neat. Right, so let's continue to strip off all these dead or dying leaves. I'm going back relatively hard on this. Anything that's got any yellow on it at all. So this one is quite long. I've got to think a little bit of the shape. Now, ideally, what we want on these stems is that we want some growth that's going to be growing inwards. But unfortunately, all of the stems in this case are all growing outwards, with the exception of that one. So I'm just going to slice this one there. I may need to go down a bit deeper on that. It's not really behaving itself, that one. It could do with being tied in a bit. I mean, it is a bit of a balancing act. I mean, sometimes what you can do is cut down little bits and pieces and then see how the plant sort of looks and is balanced after you've done some basic cutting back. And then you can adjust the rest of it to fall into line, as I've already explained a good number of times when cutting back in the past, I think. Get rid of this one again. I'm going back to an inner facing stem break, which I should be able to show you here. See there, I've cut that off there, and we've got an inner facing stem break. So we've got lots of bloom. I'll just nip that off. We're going down by a half at the moment. I've got a nice inner stem break there. That one is an inner stem break, which is what you want ideally. I mean, I'm still thinking of this as a show plant, but this applies really to all plants that you want to just keep a generally good basic shape to. Now, I've got a fair Ellen that I'm going to cut back on my own YouTube channel. I don't really want people to get bored between the two channels. Now, as I've mentioned plenty of times, having bloom going in the winter can be a nightmare, because all you need is dead and dying bloom to fall on leaves, and that can be an end game. It can be awful. Right, I'm taking this one down quite hard because I've got a little inner break going on that stem there behind that's going to be coming into there, so I'm quite happy with that. So you're just reducing this growth overall by about half. Oops, there we go. This has been kept quite dry. Has done very well. I think it needs potting on. I think it's been in this pot since March, but I will probably leave it for the winter. Let's have a look at this one. A bit further down on that one. We need to deal with that. Now, another reason why I'm doing these standards relatively hard is because I've got to find a home for this Adenjo Tintomara, which is huge and has really done very well. And I've still yet to get that in. It will have to be parked in here overnight tonight because they are forecasting a touch of frost for the first time. I cannot risk that being frosted as it's a zonal, a touch of frost. So there we are, we're almost there. I've got a real problem with this long stem here. Right, this needs to go down some more. What I will probably do is go down about halfway on this long stem. I mean, I'll show you around the whole plant in a moment. But what you can sometimes do, if you cut it back, it can be a two-stage process. So you cut it back so far and then wait for it to sort of break out a bit, and then you can reshape it again once you're confident of little breaks and small stems breaking out from further down the plant, rather than cutting it all back and then nothing being able to break out. So it can be a little bit of a two-phase operation. I've cut that back easily by at least 50%, if not more. I'm going to continue to strip off quite a lot of these leaves. What zonals tend to do, if they do suffer drought, they will put more energy into the actual growing point, and keeping that growing point going is all part and parcel of the way that they've, obviously the species, going back to the species, how those species developed and grew. It's fairly well balanced. I realise that this one is a little bit loopy. You know, I'm still not happy with this one, but shall I take it down a bit more? Let's see what happens when I put it up. Yeah, I'll get rid of that, a little bit more of that one. There we are. So that I'm fine. That's better now. Yeah, that's a bit better. Have we got any more leaves that I can strip? Strip that. Strip that. Okay, there we are. So that's gone down easily by 50%. I stripped a lot of the leaf off. That would be, because this is a fairly biggish plant, I wouldn't want to go down much smaller than that. But that's got enough breaks and little shoots and bumps now around it to really bush out to make a good plant for next season. So if you could imagine this was an ordinary pot plant with the level of the compost sort of coming up to about here, that's the sort of how you would want it to be. You continue to strip off a few more of these leaves if you wish. That can come off, that's a bit limp. We can even get rid of that one as well. And that's happy to go through the winter like that. Won't need too much in the way of watering, but when you do water, I always water with at least half strength liquid feed during the winter, because it's quite important just to keep them going. But you don't need it very often. That will not need much in the way of liquid now. There's a yellow leaf there, let's get rid of that one. So there we are, that's what I do. Cut back by half to 2/3 strip it back, neat cuts. Do it when it's dry. Make sure it's dry when you do it. And if you've got a greenhouse full of plants that are much like that. This is a gold leaf plant, actually, if you're wondering why it is fairly light. It's a gold leaf variety, so another limp, large leaf there. But there we go, that's it. That's nice and neat now. Lots of air around the stems, neat cuts. It's very dry. It's a lovely airy day today, so these stems, these cuts will heal off very quickly. So there we are, that's enough for now, and I look forward to seeing you again in another video that will be coming up very shortly. Bye bye for now.